Peace fam, it's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com, here to talk about homelessness, the epidemic that everyone fears but no one is talking about. You may think that your struggle is a lonely one, but in fact it is a planned one, and how to come out of these particular plans is a solution that I have, and I'm going to show it in this video. The problem is that people internalize their fear, and when you internalize your fear, you create isolation, and the solution to this problem is found in group economic. In this video, we hope to spotlight homelessness, or the fear of homelessness, and what can be done about it. So in order to come up with the solution, one has to first outline the problem. So it is not to focus on the problems, but it is so we can know our problems, know what we're up against, and then come to a solution or come to a common goal. So according to the NHP Foundation, the new normal is the fear of homelessness. There are 75% people in this country, according to their latest poll, that fear being homeless. So that's 7 out of 10 people or more. Beyond that, 40% of those people think that if they lose their job, then they would for sure be homeless. So that means that 40% of the population is living check to check. And over the years, we have been witnessing these changes to our landscape, to our communities, to our neighborhoods. And this has been found in 3 major areas. That's gentrification, redlining, and blue lining. Gentrification is the process of changing the character of a neighborhood by bringing in affluent residents and commercial properties. Redlining is the denial of specific services like bank loans dependent on people's racial backgrounds and their economic status. So that means if you lived in a certain point or a certain neighborhood, you might not be able to get the loans that other neighborhoods were able to get. Now, blue lining is what's happened in New York and LA, where they're getting rid of the downtown areas and they're exclusively wealthy class places. And the irony is that most of these real estate opportunities are vacant, while those population homeless problem, it grows by the day. Like I said earlier, people live paycheck to paycheck, so as long as that's going to take place, there's going to be a perpetual fear of if you lose your job. And if your job knows that you need that job to survive, they'll continuously put you in more adverse situations. So there has to be a level of financial freedom that can only be found in group economics. Did you know that there are roughly 18 million vacant homes? And if everybody that was homeless got put into these homes, they could solve the homeless crises times 6. So now, ever since 2008, there's been a rush to build luxury homes and well-to-do homes while the nation's middle class continuously grows. But the issue is that they're not creating the housing nor the price point for middle-class homes. It is said in Manhattan that the homeless shelters are full, while the luxurious skyscraper hotels are empty. So why is this? Mainly because the rent is just too high. If we don't learn to build within our families and we go out in the world and we buy ourselves, then when it comes to paying the rent, we spend all of our time and resources into paying the rent, that we don't have the time to do our creative pursuits. And if we don't have the time to do our creative pursuits, then we do not have the adjustable time for different revenue streams to come in. So it becomes a catch-22 and it becomes a vicious cycle. And it is even said in Los Angeles, a majority of its residents pay at least 50% of its total income on their housing situation. And say, for instance, you don't make $22.96 an hour or more, then statistics say that you wouldn't be able to afford a meager 2-bedroom apartment. Most middle-income families need at least $22 to survive. However, most American families get $17.96 an hour. If you do make $10 more than the minimum wage, you still are not making enough to even afford a meager 2-bedroom apartment for your family, and you're probably spending way more on your rent and less more on the essentials. And so maybe we get used to it, but it's still a level of poverty, it's still a level of isolation. And the point of this video is to open your mind up to a solution that is found in group economics. So to understand social classes and social economic classes is really dependent on how many resources you have versus how many resources you don't have. If you do not have a lot of resources, you could feel quite lower when it comes to maybe needing help or maybe needing a heads up on where to go or how to maneuver. But if you do have a lot of contacts, a lot of networks, and a lot of healthy relationships that you nurture, that you check up on, when it comes to times of need, when it comes to having particular resources at a particular time, or just simple information, then you are of a higher standard. So with this conversation, this is speaking to the people who don't have networks, to the people who don't have connections, and understanding that if you continue to isolate yourself, no matter how much money you have, you put yourself at a disadvantage. And when it comes to group economics, it's not about receiving, nor is it about giving, but it's about creating the right balance of listening and participating in the group economics in order for the whole collective to survive. I know that there's distrust and no real sense of protocol when it comes to group economics, but my challenge to you is to create that protocol, is to create that trust as we discuss the 5 ways to create group economics or establish a group economic conversation. The link between social isolation and poverty is an obvious one and also a catch-22. Social isolation can lead to missed opportunities. And when you have missed opportunities, that leads to poverty, and that creates the vicious cycle because you don't have the resources available or the resources are inaccessible to you. So the idea is to pull yourself up by understanding that you have to learn to connect. So 5 ways to start, maintain, and develop group economic conversations. So, group economics can be defined as a group of people who have a common interest. The first step is effective communication. Sometimes you talk too much, sometimes you don't talk at all. But if you do talk too much, stop talking and let other people talk. If you don't talk at all, learn to speak up. Step 2, learn to collaborate and not compete. Initially, when we start groups from the bottom, everybody is working together. But as you grow, there becomes a level of competition. And that's why the first step is always important, to actively and consciously learn to speak. And sometimes you talk too much, sometimes you don't speak enough. Figure out that balance and learn to communicate with each other and let people know, are we collaborating today or are we competing? Because if we are competing, then that means we're going against each other. And when it comes to group economics, everybody has to be on the same page. Step 3. A lot of times in group settings, there has to be rules in place. And if you just come together and don't establish rules, over time, when human behavior begins to come into play, then you do not know how to handle it. But if you do have rules in place that everybody agrees with at the beginning, as you grow, you will know how to handle human behavior and then to adjust and edit those rules as you grow as a business or a group. Step 4, prepare for conflict. There is no such thing as a group that grows without conflict. Conflicts and differences are the ability to learn from your mistakes, learn from your problems, and if you are able to address those problems in a safe and manageable way, then you will grow as a group because you know that conflict isn't the thing that's going to hold you back. That's actually the thing that helps you grow. Step 5, which is the most important part, is to remember the common goal. So many times we get into groups and we forget why we even joined those groups for. But when it's centered on group economics, when it's centered on creating a social class that everybody involved benefits, then that is a goal that you can get behind and realize every day. Now, this was just a quick vlog, just to get the people aware that you're not alone and there's a solution behind your problem. If you're isolated and have no resources, have no networks, then that's your responsibility to begin to create them. If you learn to add value and learn to not be taken advantage of, and then learning how to start things from scratch, you have nothing to worry about. But if you're isolated, stuck in your fear, or think that your fear is only you or a byproduct of you, your mistakes, your ancestors, then you may be a little confused. Stay tuned for more videos. Be sure to check out this blog on hoodmystic.com. And with that being said, I'm signing out. Peace. See you guys on the next video.